Hi, good morning, everybody, and welcome to the SLC Connect webinar with Rawnsley Park Station. I can see that we've got about 10 people on the webinar already, so I thought I'd pop on and say hello and let you know that we'll be starting shortly, and just run through a bit of housekeeping with you whilst we wait to see if anybody else is going to join us. So just to let you know that you, as attendees, you are all on mute, but you can use the Q&A function in the bar at the bottom to ask any questions that you've got, or use the chat function. But for questions in particular, the Q&A function is the better one to use. Please do keep listening right the way through to the end, because you will get the code to download your free copy of the Rough Guide to Australia as long as you've listened to the end. And at the end, will give you my contact details if you've got any other questions to ask. So we are SLC representation, and we have had the absolute pleasure of representing Rawnsley Park Station in the UK market for a number of years. I'm going to introduce you shortly to Tony Smith, who's proprietor of Rawnsley Park Station, and will be joining us today to take us through a presentation on the fabulous property and give you all the USPs and all the tips you need in order to sell that to your clients. I was fortunate myself to be able to go there a couple of years ago, and I can absolutely testify that it is the most amazingly magical place. And if your clients are looking for an adventure out into the Red Centre, it's approximately 5 hours drive north of Adelaide, up in the Flinders Ranges towards the Red Centre, and they can really get that Red Centre experience, which is just so authentic. There's a lot of Aboriginal and native sites to explore and discover, as well as the rock formations, which are just trillions of years old, but I will let Tony go into more detail on that. Just a quick mention about the CV-19 pandemic. I'm sure you're all absolutely across this, but Australia has handled it very, very well. As of yesterday, I think Australia had something like 22,500 cases, and in total they've only had 438 deaths. In South Australia itself, which is the state that Rawnsley Park Station is located in, they've only had 462 cases and they've had 4 deaths. So it's really quite incredible, and certainly Australia can be considered as a safe destination for your clients to go to, in South Australia in particular. International borders are currently closed, so as Brits we can't travel there, but wholesale operators, and I'm sure you yourself as agents are taking bookings, and I know that the large inbound operator AOT has said that they're confident to take bookings from April 2021. So given that most of us Brits plan around 6 months out, hopefully this webinar will be well timed for any inquiries that you're coming through for your Australian itineraries. So just before I introduce you to Tony, we were just going to pop a quick poll on the screen to ask you just a few questions. We want to know whether you've selling Australia currently, have you sold an itinerary to South Australia, and also in particular, have you sold Rawnsley Park Station? Wow, brilliant. So yeah, everyone pretty much Australian specialists on the call, which is great, and sold South Australia. And oh, fab that some of you sold Rawnsley Park Station. That's brilliant. Thank you very much. Okay then, I'm just going to take the poll off the screen, and without further ado, I'm going to introduce you to Tony Smith. So as I mentioned, Tony is the proprietor of Rawnsley Park Station. Good morning, Tony.
It's evening here, Deborah.
Good evening, Tony.
We're 8.5 hours ahead of you.
Of course you are.
But yeah, I know that because our eldest son's living in London, and to contact him, we take a lot of note of the time of day. So.
Of course, absolutely. So you've had your fabulous day, and we're sitting here. Well, where I am, I'm sitting in torrential rain here in the UK. I'm sure you've had a hot sunny day out there.
Well, no, we're always looking for rain here. We're in the outback. It's the complete opposite. We when we see the clouds coming over, we think that's great. So, I know it's not quite the same in London.
Not quite the same. Well, Tony, I'm going to leave you to take away the presentation and explain to the folks that we've got all the USPs and wonders of Rawnsley Park Station and why it should be on everybody's itinerary who's coming to Australia, and in particular South Australia. So I'll let you share your screen and take it away.
All right, thanks, Deborah. Yeah, just thank you to everyone for taking the time to listen to Deborah and I about about Australia, and particularly South Australia, where I live is, I guess, the central part. Although it's called the South, it's really the central part of Australia, and it's really a lot of it's, apart from the coastline, a lot of the country is quite arid, and well, parts of it are desert, I guess, but I think it's a beautiful place, and it is a place where there's just so much space, and so much. It's just so different from the UK or Europe, or certainly most of the world, I think. So I'll run through. I've got a presentation that I'm going to share, so I'll just run through that. If I pick the right one, yeah, this one, I think. Yeah, so this is where I live. This is Rawnsley Park Station. The gravel road coming in comes off the Flinders Ranges Way that leads to Wilpena Pound and Blinman, just to the north of us. So virtually all of our customers come from the south. So Adelaide is the main population centre of South Australia, and if you're coming into South Australia, well, you'll probably fly into Adelaide and then do road trips out from Adelaide. So as you can see, it's pretty dry, but the rocks, and particularly morning and evening, I think that's when I find it the most spectacular, is when the sun is setting on those rocks. They really glow with the red outback colours. So Rawnsley Park is still a working sheep station. We have about, normally have about 2,000 sheep. We're down to closer to 1,000 at the moment because of the, we've had a few dry winters now. We really need the winter rain to grow much here, and we haven't been getting that. But fortunately, we've got tourism to keep us going, so we've got plenty to do. And the top right-hand corner is Julie and myself, and then of course the sheep and the entry sign, and then that's Wilpena Pound, which is just to the north of us. That's sort of the main feature of the Flinders Ranges. So yeah, this is that's looking at Rawnsley Bluff. And yeah, just a few notes there on why people do come to the Flinders. I think it's yeah, it's the wide open spaces, and to see the wildlife, the kangaroos and the emus and the wallabies that are really quite easy to find, because they, particularly in our summer, they congregate near where the water points are, or along there's a few springs in some places. So that's where you'll find the wildlife, and usually early morning and evening is the best time for that. The accommodation at Rawnsley, we have a range of accommodation, but I guess it's the eco villas that are our sort of premium offering. They're straw bale construction, so the walls are about 1/2 metre thick, and they're rendered on inside and out. Outside, they've got that nice sort of terracotta, or light terracotta, I call it, colour, and that was picked to match the colour that we get on the ranges in the morning and evening. And I guess the other things that make them attractive are just the view from your balcony. You can look out, and you're looking out over this uninhabited landscape, which is something that you don't find everywhere, do you? So it's a fantastic outlook, and we've also really tried to concentrate on the environmental credentials. So very good thermal efficiency, and a lot of the year they have got air conditioning, but a lot of the year just by using the windows and venting, you'll keep the building quite comfortable. Yeah, the photos there just show the overview, and then a couple there standing on the balcony. And this is more of the villas showing some of the furnishings. We've tried to keep everything quite simple, and I think to match the outback. You know, the outback's there's nothing very fluffy about the outback, so we try to match what the environment that you're in. I guess one of the features that's always been a good selling point is that we have an overbed skylight. So just by the flick of a switch, you can roll back a horizontal Roman blind and look out through the skylight. And at night, you know, you can see the night sky from your bed. But that night sky's even better if you get out of bed and go outside. It's pretty impressive. And yeah, the other furnishings I think are just tried to do it again simple and elegant without being too fluffy. And we added a pool 4 years ago now, so there's a lovely pool there for the summertime, and you know, you can relax in the shade. Don't recommend you relax in the sun in Australia, and yeah, look out at the surrounding area. One of the other offerings we have is what we call the Homestead. This is the farmhouse on the property that we've renovated, and that's also got a private pool. And again, just this sense of isolation. I think, you know, if you've got two couples travelling together or a family, the Homestead's a great option for those people. And we also have holiday units. So these are our mid-range accommodation. We've got 29 of these units, and so we can take groups there as well. Yeah, quite comfortable. Not at the level of the villas or the Homestead, but if you've got people that are travelling on a budget and rather spend their money on activities, then there's nothing wrong with the holiday units. They're all air conditioned and quite comfortable. And we also have a camping ground and Caravan Park, so there's a bit of colour there on the bluff in the evening. So yeah, a great option for people that really want to get outdoors. Some of the activities that we offer, I think the four-wheel drive tours are probably the most popular of all, because most international visitors are only here for perhaps 2 or 3 days, so they'll normally do one of the tours, and there's a tour we do through the Flinders Ranges National Park that I think's a really good overview of the region. So we usually recommend that, but there's also some shorter tours that we offer, and we also do offer guided walking tours as well. So again, it's not something that you would probably do in the summer, but if people are coming in the southern hemisphere winter, then, or the cooler months, then a great way to see the area. And yeah, the Woolshed Restaurant, that's the dining facility on the property. Really, I think a nice atmosphere, and we really do focus on trying to provide, you know, good quality meals, and we use our local lamb from the property, so that's a bit of a feature of the restaurant. And you can also do helicopter flights and scenic flights from the property, and the sunset there, that's on one of what we call the sunset tours. So I guess just a short evening tour. So yeah, that's me. I'll just unshare my screen. That's what I should be doing.
So whilst Tony's unsharing the screen, please do type any questions you've got into the Q&A box, and we can run through those with Tony now. Just whilst you're thinking about your questions, I had a few that I wanted to ask of you, Tony. So I know that Rawnsley Park Station's been in your family for a long time. I think you're third generation there, and that I think maybe it was your parents that started tourism there. Can you just tell us a little bit, because the history is fascinating, about how you moved from being a working sheep farm into tourism?
Yeah, well, it sort of happened very slowly. My parents started the process 52 years ago now with one holiday cabin, and I guess for the next 20 years it was just a gradual development of self-contained accommodation and a camping ground. And then when Julie and I came, we were married in 79, we came to the property in 84, and yeah, I guess the next generation had more ideas of how we thought we could grow it, and yeah, that's what we've been doing ever since. I guess adding more facilities and more activities, and probably the restaurant was actually the biggest change, because and that was 20 years ago now that we opened the restaurant, and that really sort of changed the type of clientele that we were getting. And yeah, it's been fun, and yeah, still enjoying it, you know, and just so grateful that although we don't have international visitors at the moment, we're actually quite busy with domestic visitors because they can't go overseas. So it's working out pretty well.
And in addition to the restaurant, you have got a shop on site, haven't you? So people can buy barbecue packs and things like that. And the eco villas, they've got their own private area where they can barbecue, I believe.
Yes, that's right. Yeah, so there's yeah, well, I think what we've tried to do is cater to all levels, because we're so isolated. Our nearest I guess tourism competitor, if you want to call that, is Wilpena Resort, that's 20 kilometres away, and we both offer the same sort of offering, but I guess we've really focused on the station and the family history here. So we really try to give people an authentic experience of the Australian outback.
Great. Just got some questions coming. Ken is asking us, are you open all year round? And maybe you can give us an indication as to when you get your international visitors the best time to be visiting Rawnsley Park Station.
Okay. Yeah, we're open all year round. We find the European and UK visitors come mostly in our warmer months, so from sort of October until March. And then the domestics come from March until October. So it's really quite, there's quite a yeah, upside down pattern that we have, but it works quite well. And so we're expecting to have a quiet, our summer this year will probably be very quiet, I think, because the Aussies don't want to go inland in summer, but for people coming from overseas, well, it's still interesting to see it then.
And I think also on the back of that, I've got another couple of questions, but just whilst I think about it, how do most people get to you? Because as you said, you know, you're 4.5 hours drive north of Adelaide. So what's the normal route, and how should people book to get people out to Rawnsley Park Station?
Most people do drive. It's 4.5. You know, even I guess most people would take a day to travel to Rawnsley Park from Adelaide, and they'd stop off at maybe the Barossa Valley or the Clare Valley along the way, and enjoy those areas. And then from Clare, it's about 3 hours to Rawnsley Park. So it's a relatively easy day's drive. You know, the roads are pretty much deserted. Once you get away from the city, it's pretty easy going. And yeah, I don't think. Yeah, a lot of the Americans might do a tour where they'd have a guide, but most of the Europeans and the English will self-drive. And there's 2 or 3 different routes that you can use to get here. So it's you don't have to come up and back the same way. You can vary things a bit.
Okay, great. And if someone doesn't want to drive, there is a coach option, isn't there? I mean, that is a possibility, or there is about an hour or so away, I think. If people don't.
Yes, that's right. Yeah. We can pick up from Port Augusta as our main service centre, and that's about 140 kilometres. So it's about an hour and a half from here.
Yeah, just because 4.5 hours for us Brits, you're right, we'd want to split that up. That's I know that's nothing for you Aussies, but for us Brits that's quite a long time. So Aurelia, she clearly knows as well. So she says, do we still offer a 2-night package with 1 night in the eco villa and the second night doing the swag at the Chase Range? Is that still an option?
Yeah, that's still an option, although that's only available from March until the end of October. So it's not available in the summer, in our summer, just because the helicopter is only here for that sort of our peak domestic season. So it's a great tour. I think anybody that's looking for a bit of adventure and something really unique, well, the camping on the Chase Range. And to wake up there and look out over this landscape with, there's a few houses or a few buildings at Rawnsley and a couple of other farm properties that you can see to the horizon, and that's it. So it's really is pretty good.
Yeah, something really special, kind of once in a lifetime highlight of someone's holiday. I think that one. Linda is asking us, do you offer any special events around the shearing season? Sheep shearing. We offer a what we call a station run tour, which is a 4-hour tour over the property, and sort of we'll go and see where the sheep are and visit the watering points. But we find it's really difficult to offer something with the actual shearing season because it's not always at exactly the same time. So our shearing season lasts about 3 days. That's although we've got, you're normally a couple of thousand sheep, we get a team of shearers, and they come in and they shear those sheep as fast as they can and go on to the next property. So it's, if it's happening, then we're happy to show people the shearing, but it's not happening all that often. But you've got a small museum, haven't you, just off the Woolshed Restaurant, which sort of talks about the history of wool and... At the
restaurant, yeah, we've got a wool display and a bit of the history of the property. So yeah, anyone that's interested in wool, I'm happy to talk to them about it all day long.
We've had many conversations, haven't we, about the quality of your wool and the price of your wool, and
the microns and the yield and tensile strength and all those things. Yeah,
absolutely fascinating. Thank you very much. You mentioned in the presentation that most international guests stay around 3 days. Could you just talk us through a sort of like a sample itinerary of what those 3 days might look like, what people might do, and maybe what your top tips are for anybody who's having a holiday at Rawnsley Park Station?
Yeah, okay. I think it depends a little bit on the season. If you're coming in the heat of summer, which I'd say is sort of December, January, February for us, you're quite possibly going to get 40 degrees or even higher. So I don't really recommend more, like probably 2 nights and 1 day of touring is probably enough at that time of the year, because you're just not going to do any hiking or unless you really want to slow down. But I think most people, when they're traveling overseas, they want to see things, they want to have something exciting to take back home to tell everyone about. So summertime, that real peak of summer, I think 2 days is long enough. But of course, you could add on maybe another location at Wilpena Pound or the Prairie Hotel or somewhere in the area if you're interested in that outback experience. But yeah, outside of that really summer heat, I think, yeah, easily 3 or 4 days, because there's just so many areas that you can do hiking, or even just sightseeing, doing self-drive through the ranges. You will see wildlife, and you'll see just such a variety of landscape, from red rocks to limestone areas to grassy flat. It's just I don't know. In the UK, I can't think of anywhere that that I can relate it to. Really, it's just maybe probably in Scotland. Maybe the Highlands are a bit like that, where you go over one hill and everything's different on the other side.
Brilliant, thank you. And given the current pandemic, and I think that some of the agents, clients and consumers might ask them about sort of measures that are in place at different properties. Could you just talk us through what you're doing at Rawnsley Park Station to make sure that you remain COVID safe, and that you can give some reassurance to international guests when they're coming to stay with you, the steps that you're taking?
Yes. Well, it's been a tough time for everyone, I think. But we were pretty lucky here that we were only really closed down for about 6 weeks in April, May. And then within South Australia, we've had open travel since then. So it actually picked up quite quickly, and we've been quite busy for the last couple of months. And what we've done is we've really developed a pretty rigorous cleaning program that, there's just no excuses for not making sure that everything was wiped down properly with disinfectant. And I've even got a smoke machine now that will, if I want to, and we've been using it on the vehicles, just to disinfect, the whole vehicle without having to wipe every crevice, which you can't do really. So that's been a good toy to play with. But I think, and the other thing is, just trying to make sure that everybody on the property is up to speed with the latest expectations with regarding to cleaning and self hygiene too. Making sure we don't want any of our staff to get sick, or any of our customers to get sick. So it's been a real difficult time. But I think in some ways it's almost been, well, we found in the restaurant that it's been almost a good thing, in that we've had to restrict the restaurant to 40 people, and because I don't know, in South Australia we have a 1 to 2 square metres area restriction. I don't know if you have that thing. Yeah. So we're doing that, and we found that it's almost been easier to manage, that you're not having the peaks and troughs. You're having this pretty steady, 40 customers every night. So we've been able to manage that, I think, reasonably well.
That's great. Thank you very much. So we're going to go to a final poll. If anybody has got another question, do pop it in the Q&A now, and we can come to that. But we wanted to ask you just a final question, whether you're now inspired to sell Rawnsley Park Station now you've heard a little bit more about it. Great. I think that's 100% of respondents, so that's really good news. Thank you very much. Well, we'd like to thank you for your time, and thank you, Tony, for joining us this evening from Rawnsley Park Station to tell us more about it. My email address is deborah@slcrepresentation.com, and I'll be following up with you with some fact sheets on Rawnsley Park Station, and also your code for your free rough guide to Australia. But my role and my job here in the UK is to help you to sell Rawnsley Park Station. So if you've got any inquiries, any questions, anything else that you need to know, please do drop me an email, and I will be more than happy to respond to it. And if I don't know the answer, then I can go straight to Julie and Tony and get that answer for you. And I did that recently for somebody who was interested in the helicopter swag overnight tour. So yeah, please don't hesitate. It's our pure function. And if you're running an agency and you want us to either send you a copy of this presentation to share with team members who weren't able to join us, then we're able to do that. And it'll also be hosted on our SLC YouTube channel and our website as well. So do feel free to come back and take another look. So thank you very much, Tony, and thank you very much, everyone, for joining us. Good night.
Thanks, Deborah.
Thank you. Bye-bye.